All right, thank you. So I realized when I made the title of this, with my astronomy and physics background, maybe not everybody knows what a force multiplier is. So there's a couple different definitions, and I think both of them are applicable to data science and data science groups. So, the idea of a force multiplier could be something simple like, a pulley or a lever. So something that makes the individual effort that you exert greater than doing it without that type of tool. It amplifies your effort and it amplifies the results. The other definition of a force multiplier is basically where the component whole is greater than the sum of each individual part. And so that's where the team comes in. So data science solutions can act as a force multiplier for your business and the ability to automate something or to create some kind of analysis or visualization that speeds insight into business problems that you may have and help you out from the business standpoint. But then from the data science team standpoint, if you build a team that supports data science in your business, you can actually get the force multiplication of those members of your team beyond what you could get from an individual data scientist. And so I'm going to describe some about how, I think, at least from my perspective and my experience, why that is the case. So first, it starts out with the big data landscape of today is huge. It is so vast. It covers so many different areas. We're talking about infrastructure support of your data and analytics of your data, different applications you can use, different types of source code, different, projects, open source. People are collaborative and sharing, but what do those do? What do we build our data on? What do we want people to use to do it? Is it open source? Is it proprietary? How are we going to store our data? There are so many different solutions for doing all of these APIs to connect to other people's data to bring more in that, how in the world do you navigate this huge landscape? What is best for your business? What is going to bring the most value? What is applicable to the type of data that you have? And so, data science is there to help you with that, but it's a really big thing right now. So what is it that you go about and how do you do this? So when you look at the Gartner hype cycle for data science right now, this is really an up and coming thing. And so what questions as a business do you want to ask yourself if you want to start investing in some of these technologies? If you're an early adopter, what do you need to think about? What is going to be of value to you in 5 to 10 years? What do you need to really jump on the bandwagon today? What do you want to wait for the other companies to try and work out some of the kinks before you start adopting that? So there's a lot to think about, and a lot of these data science techniques and applications and very specialized type of expertise like machine learning and getting into IoT and getting sensor data and everything, it's really kind of, around or near that peak of inflated expectations. But what is it going to take for you as a company, and how much do you want to invest in those technologies before they actually reach, and go through the trough of disillusionment and actually reach that plateau of productivity? How much should you invest? And what do you need to do that? So data scientist jobs are on the rise, for one. You can just look at the statistics by both Indeed.com has published stuff like this, LinkedIn has had a study on this to see what is the growth in these jobs. And I mean, they're huge. They're growing beyond support of the market of availability of people with these skills to do. They've grown by a factor of more than 6 for the data scientist role. And then we have even a newer one, a machine learning engineer, that's growing at even a faster rate in the last 5 years. And so, do you want to invest in one of these for your company? How many do you need? Do you just need a data scientist? Who do you need to support that person? What does that person's skill set actually look like? What are they going to do for your company? How do they fit in? Are you even prepared? Are your data in a point at which they're accessible enough to support somebody to go in there and look at it? And then when you look in terms of the job market, how can we support data scientists? Again, what are the skill set? They're disruptors, which, in this study basically means that the projected growth for data science jobs is very high, as well as they're hard to fill. So what does this mean in terms of training new talent to fill these roles in the future? If they're hard to find, Ohio is actually in the top 10 in terms of the market and the number of available jobs for these type of people. How do you find them? How do you know what's what's the difference between a data scientist and a data analyst? What skills? Where do you go to look for them? Do you go to, the college level programs are starting to pop up with data science as a major? Do you pick them up at that place? Do you wait? Do you get PhDs? My background is, a PhD in academia, and then I decided I didn't want an academic career. So how is it that my skills translate to your business? So, there's a lot of things to think about in terms of data scientists. And the point is that navigating this landscape alone is really onerous. Like, there are a lot of things, it's like, okay, well, I'm supposed to do predictive analytics. I'm supposed to know machine learning. I'm supposed to do text analytics and create these models and do the data visualization. And, there's so many different things. I'm supposed to know Hadoop. I'm supposed to know SQL. I'm supposed to, know Tableau, is be able to make my own custom, plots. I'm supposed to be able to program in Java and Python and R. I mean, who can do that, right? So if you're looking for a data scientist, are you really looking for the purple unicorn? And so, what is it? You look at these resumes. I look at resumes, and you have all these people who list all these skills. Oh, yeah, I know all of that. Do you? Because I've been in it for a while, and I am the first to admit I do not know all of those things. I'm up for learning them, but me alone, and as a business, to hire a data scientist, to expect that person to actually be able to do all of those things is an expectation that's even going to be harder to meet given the difficulty of finding people with these skills to even do some of these things. So my suggestion is to work on finding the right group. So our CEO has basically said that, if you just get the right group in a room together, you can solve any problem. And so that is what, I'm going to put forth to you. Get the right group. Don't look for the purple unicorn. Think about what your business problems are and who is going to be the right team to put together to solve those problems. Maybe you're not ready for a data scientist. Maybe you need to start with just a data, infrastructure, a DBA type team to get your data in order before you bring in that person who is going to bring the most value in getting insight. Maybe you just want to try it out. Maybe, for me, we're actually a consulting firm. Maybe you want to go seek the advice of somebody who's already done this to come in and help show you what is going to be the most return on investment for you as a business in order so that you have an argument to your board or to your business manager or your CEO or whomever about what is the most valuable thing to start out in navigating this new but pretty intimidating landscape of big data and data science. So for us, just in terms of, again, my experience and my background and the context at which I'm coming at this with, is that we're a data consulting firm. And so the type of team that we need to support, our clientele, which are other people who may be interested in data, is maybe different than what you want to think about for your business and what your business problems are and what your data types are. So we as a consulting firm trying to help many different industries need a bit of a broader base in terms of what our experiences are on our team and how our teams work together and the flexibility and what we think about. So, think about what you need and hopefully take some of what, I'm saying will help you, but understand that, again, this is my experience coming from out of academia, now working in industry and trying to build this data science group inside a consulting firm to go out and help different types of clients on different types of data projects. So the type of thing that we look at when trying to find data scientists is really, it's kind of like growing a tree and building our data science group. So we're not only looking at one person, one data scientist, but the group needs to be based the data scientist is going to be kind of your visionary when it comes to what that group is going to be doing. And so I kind of like to think of it as growing a tree. So you need a foundation of tools. So, your R, your, machine learning algorithms using AWS, working with SQL and databases, Python, all these kinds of things. But those don't create solutions without actually having subject matter and statistical and mathematical backing. Actually being able to create the algorithms, design the experiments and things that go into what you need to use those tools for to be valuable to your company. But now, as with any tree, you cannot grow a healthy tree without having a healthy root system. And this, I think, is the most important aspect of finding your data scientists and building this team together. And I know a lot of these words are hard to read at this scale, but these are the soft skills that really support the foundation of your tree. You need to have, the creativity to come up with ideas for the solutions. You need to have that outside the box thinking, the grit that we've heard about, the ability to tell a story, to be able to follow the data in different directions and understand how it brings value in the context at which you are interested in for your use cases. You need to have speakers who can communicate at different levels. You need to have, the charisma, the passion, and the excitement behind growing that group and getting them excited about the data. And so it's these real soft skills that are really incredibly important. You can have highly technical people, but without that drive and the direction and the creativity and the ingenuity and innovation behind finding something new and interesting with that data, then you're going to have a really hard time with data science, because a lot of data science is science. It is applying the scientific method to your data, whatever that is. You need to understand which questions to ask, how far to go down that path of this question before you realize that you need to bring it back in and maybe travel a different direction. There's a lot of research involved. This is why a lot of data scientists are actually coming out of academia the way that I did, because in order to get that higher level graduate degree, you need to be able to show that you can do this. In astronomy in particular, it was not working in a big lab. It was not being given a project. It's like, hey, come up with an idea, apply to get data at a telescope, and you just keep doing that. So you build in naturally that grit, because there's only about 10% of time that is available, it's only about a 10% success rate. So it's proposal after proposal, idea after idea, pushing until you actually succeed to get that funding to do your project. And then you have to, carry through. You have to figure out how to then clean your data, how to make it useful, how to actually get to the point at which your data allow you to model, allow you to fit, allow you to find something physically interesting. And then you have to communicate it to people. And you have to communicate it to people within your field at a very highly technical level. You have to communicate it to the public, because the only reason we do astronomy is because we have public support, because it's really cool and pretty pictures and everybody loves Hubble images. And then to the school children as well. And so being able to communicate is a really important soft skill for being able to go in and be a data scientist and talk to now the decision makers and the stakeholders, as well as work with the technical team and understand what's going on at that technical fundamental level. So when we look at who our data science team is actually made up of, again, this is going to be very specific to your business, but now we're looking at a lot of different roles that you might hold. So yes, you want data scientists on your team, right? You want somebody who's maybe going to be your data evangelist, your visionary of what's going on. You may want to have a machine learning expert type of data scientist, somebody who is an expert in individual type of coding methodologies. You want that project manager, your scrum master. They're really important. Data scientists, researchers, discovery, we see shiny objects and we want to go chase that. And we need that business side to be like, no, that's out of scope. That's really an interesting problem. And, Laura's talking about this, getting to tenure and your academic freedom and the ability to go chase these projects. Well, when you go and you live in that world and then you come and now you're in the business world, it'd be like, no, that's not in scope. Yes, that sounds really cool, but let's focus on what we're actually being paid to do. So, you need that structure. But basically, doing and navigating this landscape of data science takes a village, right? It's not, you can't have that purple unicorn who has the depth of expertise in every aspect of what it takes to create these successful data science solutions. But even this team is not really the whole picture of how to successfully implement data science in your business. You also have to have the connection to the business side, the leadership side of your company. Because again, a lot of data science is discovery and it is research, but it has to bring value to your company. And so you need a data science leader who understands the business aspects of what your team is doing as well as the technical aspects. They need to bridge that gap between the business understanding, the return on investment, is it worth going from 80 to 85%? How much is that effort going to cost the company? What are the interesting use cases? What is the competition doing? Who's the next resource that we need to invest in order to make that next leap and the next up and coming technology? Is that something our company wants to invest in, or are we going to wait and let some of the other trailblazers figure it out before we know whether or not it's worth it for us? And so that role is basically a different set of skills from the strict person who is a rock star in the technical side. You have to speak to the other customers, you have to talk to the decision makers, you have to explain things in a different way that is not necessarily what your developers are going to understand. And you need to be able to navigate both of those worlds so that you can communicate between them. It makes me think of Office Space and like, well, what do you do? Well, I talk to the engineers. Like, I understand the engineers, and I can communicate with the customers too. And but it has to be more that your secretary doesn't do it. You actually have to do that job. So you need that the lead of your data science group at whatever level needs to be able to navigate both landscapes. It's like a T-shaped distribution of expertise. You need to have deep subject matter on the technical side to be able to communicate with your technical, but you also need to have project management skills, business knowledge, market knowledge about what space are you selling into, in order to be able to have a successful group that fits in well with the business side of things. The next thing for a data science group that I find is really important is something that I bring from the academic side, is that, and I guess I have to say I'm somewhat lucky because I come from an academic research group in which this was truly the case, and have learned that that's not always the way it is, but level the pyramid. So in industry, it's like, it's a much clearer hierarchy, I think, of manager. We have this argument about junior position, senior position, management position. What level are you? Are you data scientist 1, 2, or 3? Are you data analyst? Like, what do all these roles actually mean? But if you want to have a functional group, then you need to level this pyramid, because when you come to talk about data science and new ideas and what it is, you want to work on the same level. Every idea can be valuable. Every idea, no matter who it's from, should be accepted from anybody in the group, no matter who's manager of whom, or how long one resource has been there, or what degree that resource has. Every idea could be the next best thing. And so to have this open collaboration is something that I think is done in academia really well, and maybe doesn't always translate because of the intimidation of how experienced somebody is, or what your official title is when you come in, or egos get involved a lot more, I think, in the industry side and business side than they do necessarily in academia. I say necessarily because I've known some really egotistical people in academia as well. But again, the research group that I came from, you could be a first-year graduate student, not have any idea and what you're doing, and raise your hand and have a new idea, and yeah, that's awesome, let's write a proposal about that, and it becomes this amazing publication, right? So we need to do that in industry as well. We need to work together, and it doesn't matter. I kind of, I try, and what I have fearless humility. I am not afraid to speak my mind, to argue the point, to do whatever. But I'm also fine being like, yeah, okay, that's right, I was wrong, I'm sorry about that. But being able to speak up and being able to throw your ideas out there without the fear that you could be wrong is, I think, really good for trying to create this collaborative environment. Any idea can be a good idea. But it's okay to be wrong too. If somebody has better logic than I do, I'll be like, okay, yeah, you argued your point, yeah, I was totally wrong, let's do that. Right? And so but creating this openness is really what's going to help fuel those ideas. It's going to make that force multiplier so that anybody's idea, you argue it out, you talk it out, you work it out, throw ideas back and forth, and it grows into something amazing, right? Getting different viewpoints can really help flesh out what is going to be the next greatest idea. The next thing I would say is that you have to fit the pieces together well. And this has come up multiple times, but culture. Culture fit is really, really important. Laura talked about Apollo syndrome. And so, yeah, that can, having a bad egg can really destroy the team culture. And so the flourish multiplier is the opposite of that. That's what you want to get to. And you want to make sure that everybody works well together, that you don't have this intimidation factor, that people are happy working on the team, they get to try out new roles possibly, and you're open to mentoring, you're open to teaching, you're letting people try, and even if they fail, turning it into something that you can all learn from. It's okay if you want to go try something out, yes, let you have the independence and let them do that. But then part of that is, again, the humility. I want to try this, and I have to come back and be like, yeah, sorry guys, that didn't work very well. I'm sorry I wasted a week of our time. That's okay. Let's all rally and do it all together. But, when you have a team that's based on honesty and trust, then, you can get through those things. Part of it is the happiness, is how the teams work together. What do you do as a team? Do you try and do team building activities? How much do you get together? Are you all in the same place? Do you have to work remotely? What is it that you do to create the culture that fits with your team? And using that as your motivation, as your, success, patting each other on the back. Tell your team members if you think they did something awesome. Don't make it competitive. I mean, when I, read about working at Amazon and how they had an anonymous thing that you could basically tattle on your teammates, I was like, that sounds really scary. If I want somebody to openly tell me if they think that I'm doing something, or, I'm working from home 3 days and they don't know why. I really hope that they say, hey, Kelly, is everything okay? Where have you been? How are things going? Just make your team happy. Happy people are more productive. Teams that work and like their teammates are more productive. Think about that when you're hiring people. I bought an espresso machine for the office this year because it made people happy. Got a fist pump back there. Because I'm like, I want to work with people every day who want to come and are happy and want to work with me. So when you're hiring people, make sure they get together with your team, see how it works out. All go out for drinks or for coffee or whatever. Have the culture fit be part of the interview process. Because it's going to make or break what happens with your group. So just some takeaways, summaries. Data science is a disruptor in the market, right? We need to prepare for it. Get on board if your company is ready. If you're not, start doing research, look into it. How could data science benefit you? Start small, work your way up. But it's coming. I think we all need to be prepared. It's the next big thing. So what it's going to mean, I don't know. Consequences are to be decided. But it's hard to ignore. But again, purple unicorns are rare. So consider a team. Look at, again, start small, see what you need for your company. But try and start with more than one person. It's going to make that person stay longer, be happier. Again, data science people, we're collaborative. We're, idea people. We want somebody to throw our ideas off of and build something greater than what we can just do ourselves. Again, talent. Finding talent is hard. There's a lot of ambiguity in what a data scientist is. So, balance those hard skills and soft skills and really, find creative ways to ask questions to get what you want to. Fast learners, part of, again, the academic side of things is I feel like once you get a professional or get a PhD, you're kind of a professional learner. Find the people who are interested in learning outside of their subject matter. I love the consulting side because I'm just like, I just want to try everything, right? I did 3 different research areas before I decided on what I was going to do for my dissertation. And I did that because I liked the group. I chose my dissertation field because I liked the people. I worked well with them. So, and I like all data. So people can learn new skills. Again, open collaboration, incredibly important for data science. Don't make it, I don't know this new skill. I'm afraid to say, I'm afraid to ask questions. There are no stupid questions, right? Find somebody who asks questions. If you interview somebody and they say they know everything and they don't have any questions, probably not a good person for a data scientist. Throw them an open-ended question and see how many questions they ask you in return about it, and because intuitively inquisitive people are going to be better data scientists than ones who just know how to do a lot of technical things, because you're going for discovery here. And finally, do not take culture fit for granted. liking who you work with reduces stress. It increases talent retention, which we all know how difficult it is to train people, and it equates to increased productivity. So those are kind of my takeaways, and I am happy to take questions. Thanks.
Maybe it's not fully a question, but
yeah.
I thought it was cool. We both came up, so I had the opportunity to speak at 2 o'clock about a data science team. But independent validation of the fact that in 2 different environments, the openly collaborative, I just want to work with nice people.
Yeah.
Just don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
and the culture fit, and I think those are really big. And then obviously not there aren't purple. They're not going to transfer us through.
Yeah.
But I think that's interesting that these 2 different groups of folks, every single time, openly collaborative, and things have got to fit with the group that.
Yeah, it's really important.
Hi, so what would your advice be for a group that's just starting out and we only have a few people, and I feel like there is this expectation for the purple unicorns to have people that can do everything? What would you say would be the best focus area first, or would that just completely entirely depend? Probably.
It does. I mean, a lot of it is what are your use cases, right? What do you want to hire a data scientist to do? What is going to bring the most value to your business that then can justify growth?
Right. So right now this is in HR. We're trying to grow an HR analytics team, and we're trying to move away from just report crunching and producing to more higher overview analytics summaries, perhaps predictive modeling. And I think it's just difficult because we're such a small team for such a big company. And so it's difficult for us to get off the ground, I would say. So
yeah, I mean, I think you want to start with kind of a senior person who's going to be a thought leader, who's going to be able to define direction, come up with the questions that you may want to answer or the analysis paths that may bring more value and then can create justification for, again, growth in the future. But to, provide value quickly, you want to start with a senior resource who's just really good at thinking outside the box and how to, support the program that you want to build.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My question is, what are characteristics of someone who could become a purple unicorn within an organization, within your current talent pool? How can you tell? What are some of the tests?
How purple?
There could be worth investment of training them and growing them.
Yeah, I mean, if you want the purple unicorn on the actual data science side, right? You want to look for the person who asks questions. Why does this work? How is this happening? Why? The question person, the person who's going to think up new ideas. Get them to, ask them open-ended questions and see their thought process. You want somebody who's going to jump from point to point, and you also want somebody who's going to be self-motivated to learn new things and to grow. So, if you want the other side of the unicorn, the technical skills as well, they need to start somewhere, right? So if they have a solid base in some kind of technology, whether it be a programming language, or, database or, working with data somehow, knowing the data, I think is the big thing. If you can work with data and you ask a lot of questions, then that's a really good start, and you like to learn things. And I don't know, I keep adding because the purple unicorn is hard to find. But really you need to find something that's going to drive your use cases. If you have, the more questions you have, the more justification you have for needing more people to help answer them.
So similar to the lady in the front, trying to take a team that you're kind of almost repurposing into a data science team that was once more BI. How do you shift that mindset, and how do you support them to get them there? So, getting away from the report queue and, and also getting the business partner away, lifting up the knowledge base of the business, but also trying to get them focused on higher order kinds of things instead of just here's a report. Any advice?
So, if you have the bandwidth to bring in somebody who can lead them in that direction and help, mentor by doing essentially, and help them lift them up that way. I'm very much a believer in inquiry-based learning and being able to do hands-on things. We like to bring people in. Even if you can work remotely, you're going to get more value from being in the office and seeing the process done. So finding somebody who is very verbal in their thought process so that other people can watch this thinking and this learning process as they're going through it, trying to answer or ask and then answer how to get to new questions or new use cases that you may want that team to start addressing for your business. Because even though somebody is not maybe as intuitively inquisitive about things, if they start seeing other people doing it, and then some of it, a lot of people, they may have the questions and then they're just afraid to ask them out loud because, I don't want to sound stupid. So if you have somebody who can demonstrate I'm just going to ask a whole bunch of questions. Let's just write a whole bunch of questions on the board and talk them through and just be able to lead that type of discussion, and that this is a way that we want to change the culture to have creating discussions and asking questions and then going to the data and seeing if that leads anywhere as something that is accepted and normal and part of the direction that you want to go. Then you may see certain people in your current team who will bubble up and will be able to do that more naturally, and then may be able to take the lead in that kind of thing. I've had this discussion before about, how do you train a data scientist from somebody who is traditionally a data analyst? And I would say in some cases you can absolutely do it, again, with the mentoring, the just seeing other people, the way other people work through problems, and, ask them, find the people who like doing puzzles, find the people who like, just working those, little brain teaser type things. And, those are the people who are going to more naturally be able to be inquisitive or learn to be more inquisitive and then see where that leads. Other people, they just don't think that way. I mean, it's why we have a spectrum of, a workforce that have all different kinds of people. And, I've met people who want really, really badly to be able to be in that role, and we just have different thinkers. And so sometimes, you're just going to reach the top of your potential, and you can be awesome at different things, but not necessarily the one who's going to be the thought leader or the data visionary to see where to go with the data science. And that's okay. There's places on the team for those people too.
Hi. Okay, so you gave a lot of advice, like there's a lot of different options, and because it's so new that when people are building their data science teams, so there's a lot of different directions you can go and a lot of different things you should be considering. But so I'm wondering if there's anything that you should be kind of avoiding, like any issues that you think we might not be considering when we're first starting our teams, that what you should avoid when you're trying to build your team,
I would go back to the fact that culture fit is important. Don't just hire a bunch of people because individually they all seem really good at something. I would say start small and see and add people as you see that they fit and where all the puzzle pieces need to fall. If you immediately go from something very small to something very huge, it could be a tremendous success or it could be a tremendous failure. It's hard to see. I think that whatever you do and however you grow should always be based on the business value of that team. If there are certain technologies directions that you want to go. If you want to, primarily go towards open source, make sure that you're finding people who have the experience in that. And I think usually if you find people who have, deep experience in one thing, but broad, shallower experience in other things, that's going to work well for meshing a team together. So, I may not know a ton about, database administration, but I know enough that I can communicate with and understand the DBAs in our group, right? And, somebody else may not know how to sit down and code really well in Python, but they may code in C. And so they understand the basic structure and logic that needs to go into creating a software solution or a data science programming solution or something like that. So just think about the different components that are important in your team and see the best way that those pieces are going to fit together.
Hello, I'm from Ohio University, and on behalf of higher education, I'm curious to know how we can partner in this space to help with the demand, to better equip people. I've met and heard stories of many academics actually who have PhDs that didn't consider this as a path. So is there a certificate program that might be offered so that more people can become a member of this team and work their way up? And is there some advice or some communication pathways that could be opened up to promote this more even on like a liberal arts side?
Mm-hmm.
And what are your thoughts on that?
I really think that it's more focusing on, again, the skills that are important rather than an individual degree, right? When you look at the distribution of data scientists, they come from a ridiculously broad range of backgrounds. The PhDs in our company, we have 2 astrophysicists, a nuclear physicist, a mathematician, what is Jeanette, Sean, do you remember? She's like an ecology PhD or something, or maybe it's botany. I don't know if they're tutor. Anyway, so it's a range. It's just a range because it's really, again, it's this combination of being able to do technical things while at the same time having this inquisitive side, the ability to tell a story and just be a good thinker. And so I think that at least in our company, and I hope it is across the board, that how you sell yourself in an interview and on your resume is going to be more important to what your actual degree is. And I think that a lot of people hiring into data science, like if they were a true data scientist, they recognize that. And that's what we look for more than anything. I don't care what your degree is in, as long as you've proven that you can finish something, and then you can come in with the desire to learn and some technical aptitude and some curiosity, then that is going to be the driver. As for PhD programs and stuff, what my frustration is, having been through that and seeing what the attrition rate is and how many, in astronomy and physics, it's like less than 10% of PhDs actually end up in a research faculty position, and less than 30% end up in the field at all. And yet the PhD programs, or very few PhD programs, are recognizing this and creating track for those who want to get a PhD but then go into something like data science or directly into industry or something. And the pushback that I've gotten is, well, we only know how to teach them how to do what we do, which is become a research faculty member. And personally, I think that that's a little short-sighted, and they're very smart people. I'm sure they could figure it out. How about they research some resources and programs to help these people? But that's my personal bias. But yeah, I think the people hiring recognize that there's going to be a variety of backgrounds. And I think just from the university side, understanding what's important to get into these candidates' resumes is the biggest thing. Yeah.
Okay, hi. I'm a first-year student at OSU in CSE, and I wanted to get your advice on something.
Sure.
So recently, for the past 2 years or so, I've been working on a project all by myself, and I know I want to grow my team for it, and it involves a little bit of analytics. I've also noticed that in my classrooms, though, there's barely any females, and these two guys have approached me to be collaborators on this project. And They're brilliant, they're bright, and as you said before, we want to find the right people for the team. They definitely have the right mindset, but I've been warned so many times by my mentors and other people that it's the reality. I may get I may feel like kind of overpowered by these guys. I'm leading it all myself, team of 3, 2 guys, and then there's me. And they've had prior coding experience, and as I said, I'm new to this field, and I really know that I want to help lead this project and have a great team dynamic. What's your feedback on someone new as me starting this project, and how do you find that nice blend and that balance between leadership and teamwork and kind of tackling these fears that I have?
That's a great question. So thank you. So, I mean, for the people who know me, I'm loud. I'm very assertive. But again, it's this, I'm not afraid of being wrong. So, I have no problem standing up to men, to women, to anybody. Actually, women are harder on other women than I think a lot of men are harder than us. And I think it's just our perception that the men are going to try and take over. But it's just kind of, you just push it out there, be like, my ideas are excellent. But again, the whole teamwork, don't try to be overpowering then to compensate for thinking that you need to be so powerful, and it's just, just honesty, just work things out. If you feel that you're being sufficiently assertive and things aren't working, you just be honest about it. I mean, really, I think like any relationship, is built on honesty. So I think again, this kind of fearless humility, don't be afraid to stand up, but at the same time, understand when there needs to be trade-off. And if you feel like you are asserting yourself in a reasonable way and they're getting pushback, then, have an honest conversation with them, but it just may mean that it might not be there. So honesty and respect, and as long as it moves both ways, then, I found that generally it works. And when it doesn't work, then those are the people that to, find somebody else and avoid. So, all right. Well, thank you all for being here, and I'll be around at the happy hour if you have any other questions.